Should police have the ability to stop and question people without a legitimate investigative purpose? Are street checks a form of arbitrary detention that is contrary to Section 9 of the Charter? I believe that police officers should not have the right to stop and question people without a legitimate purpose. I have two arguments to suggest that this is unreasonable. First, the micro act of stopping and questioning people with no grounds might have a very serious consequence on a macro level. Citizens can find themselves very uncomfortable by being stopped, and it can increase the level of unnecessary alertness among them. This may lead to a wave of mental issues and distrust between government, through police, and citizens, which can turn out to be risky for society. Second, the absence of a legitimate purpose for doing checks will absolutely reduce cost efficiency of police officers on duty. Thus, it creates a higher demand to hire more police officers and creates unnecessary budget expenses. Both disadvantages reinforce doubt in the government's rationality and efficiency when such checks are allowed. Street checks are contrary to Section 9 of the Charter and should remain illegal unless reasonable grounds exist. Does the practice of street checks violate the right to equal treatment under the law that is protected by Section 15 of the Charter? While there was research done to depict that racial profiling exists during street checks, I believe that street checks do not violate the right to equal treatment. Although all citizens deserve equal treatment when being stopped and questioned, I'm not able to forego the fact that some social groups of people with certain characteristics can have a greater potential risk for society than others. Therefore, if street checks are allowed, I cannot blame justice system for doing its job. Some groups of people would be stopped more frequently than others. Theoretically speaking, the street checks do not violate the right to equal treatment. However, practically they always will. Do you agree with the new regulations on street checks enacted by the Ontario government? Explain your answer. I totally support the new regulations on street checks for reasons provided earlier. Reasons for street checks should be announced to people being stopped. The right to remain silent should be enforced. Records of such stops are a great tool for accountability. Any police officer should protect the public, detect and prevent crime, and perform other activities directed at maintaining law and order. So I strongly believe that unreasonable and inefficient actions should be eliminated from police responsibilities. However, if legitimate investigative purposes exist, then suspects should be informed about all details of the check in order to defend their rights if such is applicable. This creates social fairness. Do the new regulations hinder the police's ability to proactively investigate suspicious and/or criminal activity? While some critics argue that the new regulations limit the police's ability to investigate criminal activity effectively, I have to admit that this is true at some point. If an educated criminal can commit an offense, he might use gaps in the law to get away effortlessly. However, it should not be the reason to extend power of police to conduct checks. In other words, risks do not outweigh opportunities. Police officers must be highly intelligent wardens of law and order, thus be able to find lawful ways to investigate crimes without using extended power over citizens.